Where are we at with the essence of martial arts now? Before we begin, we got to go back in Sankofa. Go back and fetch it. Where did it begin from? Well, actually, before Kemet and Kush, we had our methods of fighting. And we call that Montu. Montu is an unter or deity that predates martial arts. Of course, after the Egyptian dynasty, we had the Greek dynasty, and they used Ares. Afterwards, then Mars. That's where we get martial arts. In that, the priests left the area of Africa and went to India, where we use a concept called Maat, and that changed to karma. Karma is what we know as what goes around comes around. Later, as the Africans left, the priests went into China, they came into the yin and yang. And that yin and yang is where you have the opposites. And with Maat, you have that balance. So everything came with Maat. And here you have that balance in Maat. Okay, and karma, what goes around comes around. You can even see it with the Gnome symbol of the Adinkra symbol in Ghana. Later, the yin and yang, you can see how the yin and yang came up out of this as well. That you have the concept of the white and the darkness, or Ra and Amen. And that goes all the way back to the concepts of where we begin at, the concepts of duality, where the essence of martial arts is that the essence of who we are as deities, and from dealing with opposites, where there is always a conflict of light and darkness, of good and bad, of injustice and justice, of imbalance and balance. And we have to have a harmony with that. So we always knew that there would be this conflict, and we have to have a spiritual presence in that. And that's what our ancestors came up with, our pineal gland, for us to understand our spiritual inner arts that dealt with that. Our inner arts is where we actually have to develop ourselves and be able to honor ourselves of being a master of self, to be able to do anything, even anything external of fighting or forms and exercises. The essence of martial arts is that internal development that we must have, that goes back to our actual spiritual arts and sciences. In that, one of our legacies that we had was the Moors, who created the game of chess that came up out of the game of Senet that our Kemetu or ancient Egyptians developed. This game of chess is coded, where even the attacker first piece that moves is coded as the white piece, okay? And they attack or have an intent to murder the black king. In that, the black king must defend itself that side of the board in strategy for doing defensive kill on the other side. This is a game that goes all the way back to the sun rising and then darkness taking over the sun, and then the sun rising again and darkness taking over the sun, or what goes around comes around. This goes all the way back to internal development, as well as bringing that internal form out into what it is out into creation, what we created out into the universe or the earth, what we have to do. How do we deal with that essence now when we're in a situation where we have prejudice, we have racial privilege, we have sexism, and all the other ilks and chaos of upset that goes on in the world today? First, we must master what's within. We must master ourselves internally to be able to do the breathing, the exercises, the nutrition, the methods of internal development, so that you can be one with all that is. Once you start to master that and know who you are as a spiritual entity that is immortal, having a mortal form for this certain period of time to make a change, then we can actually deal with what we need to do on the external. and be the warrior for that. We got to remember that Africa, where all this came from, that traveled to the various places around the world, is a maternal continent, and that the woman is sacred. And in fact, the woman is the creator of us. In that, we have to know that she must protect herself in her holies of holy. In her holies of holy, that the brother must go in to enter with her permission, births forth the children. And they must be the warriors that end up protecting her domain. In that domain, if the birth children come out and turning the other cheek, when there is people that oppress her and want to take and kidnap her, and her want to oppress and kidnap her and her children and legacy, then we have to have warriors being birthed, ones that's going to protect her entourage, protect her dominion. Hence, we must continue on with warriors. So as we are with the woman, and that's where we get the symbol of the Ankh, okay, the holy of the womb, the vagina, and the phalanx as being life, eternal life. And this has a lot of meanings to it as well. But that's where we need to focus on protecting that life. The woman is sacred, and as men, we are the ambassador for her and administrator for what she wants done, and we perform that according to her wishes, being that Africa is a maternal continent, and others that have come in and dominated in a patriarchal fashion and dominating the world. We must restore the black woman, brothers. That is the essence of what we must protect. If you're not doing that, you're aiding and abetting the enemy. We're aiding and abetting the oppressor. We are aiding to sexism. We're aiding to the image of beauty being other than the African woman as the standard. So the essence of martial arts is the essence of warfare. We must be able to understand that we got to counter the duality. If there is an imbalance, we must bring it back to balance. And we must use any means necessary for that. And this state of the Statue of Liberty that holds the scales at an imbalanced level and is tilted, we must do whatever it takes to restore the balance. That means we must study warfare. We must be able to study killing. Of course, according to our standard, we never murder. Never murder. But we must be the best killers on the planet. And being the best killers on the planet, that means that we must study physical aspects of it, business, education, all the things that Neely Fuller and Dr. Francis Cress Welsing teaches about. We must study those aspects and implement them. And in being the best killer, we must be able to use all means, being that in this, we can't just use physical counterparts of even when someone grabs us and doing body calisthenics. We must use the warfare education, the warfare of business, and even spiritual warfare to protect ourselves. Again, we would not do anything to harm anyone that's giving us something of love. We accept love, and therefore we give it back in reciprocity. But anything or anyone or anybody, anytime tries to hurt us by giving us other than love, we will defend ourselves with the power of loving ourselves. Up to the point where if they try to destroy us, we give that same type of energy back as reciprocity, as the balance. So the essence of martial arts is even using spirituality. Some people even use that in what we call voodoo and Haiti. And that's something that is Heka, or what people would call magic, but really it is something that we actually practice in doing. We need to practice, just like we would do throwing a punch or a block. We need to practice our spiritual warfare or our spiritual loving of ourselves to balance anything that would come against us improperly. We must do this, or upset or imbalance will continue on. The essence of the martial arts means that we must go inside to learn who we are and bring balance back into the world so we can make the world a better place.